Muswell Hill means, of course, Mossy Well. Land had been given to nuns as a farm. There's an old legend about a king being cured of disease there.
Landowner Henry Smith had been murdered, but when people came to see the scene of the crime, they discovered a small village called Muswell Hill.
The palace originally stood in about twice the size park that it currently stands in, and at the turn of the century the owners of the palace were struggling for funds and decided to sell off an area of land to the north of the building.
At last, with this land available, Muswell Hill becomes a suburb.
In the 70s, one of Muswell Hill's citizens would be convicted of vampire hunting in Highgate Cemetery.
Basically, Highgate Cemetery has always been reputed haunted, and even in the late 60s, amidst all this vandalism, people were reporting seeing this tall dark figure inside the cemetery, or outside the cemetery, actually in Swains Lane. Now, I was approaching the top gate of Highgate Cemetery from Highgate Village, and as I passed it, I caught something out of the corner of my eye, and it seemed to be a tall dark figure standing just inside the top gate. The very first reaction was I thought, oh, it's somebody dressed up in a black cloak trying to frighten passers-by. But it wasn't. It appeared to have red eyes. And after about 4 seconds, maybe even less, but it seemed like an eternity, the figure just wasn't there, it had gone. About 5 of us went to Highgate Cemetery with the intention of performing a psychic séance. I had a stake, but attached to the stake was a piece of long cord. The idea of that was to try and cast a magical circle on the ground, and all this started to take place at the top on a flat piece of land of the Circle of Lebanon. The next thing we knew, the police were approaching. The inspector in charge of the case appreciated my concerns. I told him I didn't believe in vampires. We were looking for the ghost there. He made a deal with me. He said, look, if you just plead guilty in the morning at Clerkenwell Court, just plead guilty, you'll just get a technical warning of trespass. The case will be over without any publicity, and that'll be the end of it. And this same police officer, he said to the court, I'd said to him, you wouldn't understand. My intention was to seek out and stake the Highgate vampire, and he produced the wooden stake, minus the string. Some people try to turn this entity, this spectre that I've seen, into a vampire. A couple of years later, the same group of people claimed that the vampire had now fled Highgate Cemetery because of all the interest in its activities. It had had enough. It wasn't safe there for it anymore. According to them anyway, it had taken up refuge in an old Gothic mansion in Crouch End, and they claimed to have discovered it asleep in its coffin just after daybreak in the cellars of this old house. And then the person claimed he drove his wooden stake through its heart. End of Highgate vampire. That's if you believe it was a vampire.
One of the great pioneers of filmmaking was R.W. Paul, the first film studio in the world, even before America, was in Muswell Hill. He built an open-air studio, like a stage, because no electricity really. You had to film in daylight.
Unlike David Farron, not all Muswell Hill's residents have been so innocent. In February 1983, plumbers were called to the flats on Cranley Gardens to investigate some blocked drains. Suspicions fell on tenant Dennis Nelson, who would be convicted of murder of 16 young men. He would lure them into the back of his house. He would strangle them, chop them up and boil the flesh off their bones. Placing them in a plastic bag, he would hide them in the cupboards, under floorboards, and under the kitchen sink. Others he would flush down the toilet, causing the blocked drains. Muswell Hill and Alexandra Palace will play a crucial role during both World Wars.
The palace was used as an internment camp during the First World War. So it wasn't for prisoners captured in Europe. It was for foreign nationals that were living and working in London and the surrounding areas. The Germans invented a system of radio direction finding for their aircraft. One of the later systems that they invented used the same frequencies as the transmitter at Alexandra Palace. The transmitter here was used to fool the distance finding so that the bombers couldn't find London.
The church was bombed by incendiary bombs in 1941, 19th of April, and it was burnt out. Down the centre of the church we built a brick wall and a corrugated iron roof, and that meant that we had half a church to worship in.
Been banned over by the police for painting on advertising, over the advertising, personalising a mass-produced image, and I found that if I painted with chewing gum, technically it wasn't criminal damage. That's the beauty of this work. You can work everywhere. But you know, when you work, I've worked in Muswell Hill a lot recently, and it's exciting for me because I get to know about different people, you know, and all the diversity of people's lives. And I've been working for 4 years, and right from the beginning people were very excited. Immediately just came up to me and started making requests. I take any discarded gum and like this one here, I burn it and I put my acrylic enamel. Sometimes if the gum's a bit softer, it's been spat out more recently, you have to put more lacquer into it, but in this case it's quite, it's been here for a while.
After attempts to connect it to the Northern Line, the train service in Muswell Hill was cancelled in 1954.
It used to go from Alexandra Palace, Muswell Hill, Cranley Gardens, then Highgate, and then from there it would go to Stroud Green and Finsbury Park, and it was a very quick way of getting to the city.
Somebody had this wonderful idea of adding it to the tube system. It was almost ready to open, but when war broke out, work stopped in 1939.
Hi, I'm Jamie and I live in Muswell Hill.
Hi, my name's Felix. I've lived in Muswell Hill since I was 2.
Hi, I'm Nate. I live in Muswell Hill and I'm 13. And
what do you know of Muswell Hill? Any history you know about Muswell Hill?
There was a serial killer who lived on Cranley Gardens and he used to kill people and chop them up and put them in the drains. My friend used to live there.
He didn't get killed.
He didn't get killed, but like, he lived there.
Knowing about Muswell Hill, I know it's old. I know there used to be like a vampire slayer guy here as well. And quite self-explanatory really. He used to kill vampires and stuff.
It's a bubblegum guy who paints bubblegum, so yeah, that's cool.
Like,
We love Muswell Hill.
Muswell Hill is really good for friends because you can go around quite late. It's in a good area and it's not too far from any like big shops. So it's not too far from any big shops. You get to Brent Cross, Wood Green, shopping mall and stuff.
Get anywhere in London, we go central London all the time.
I like it because it's very trendy now, but not over trendy.
The view, the sense of community.
I know everyone here, everyone knows me, it's a friendly environment.
You don't have to go far before you can find what you want.
And then we like walking around it easily, so it's like we go through Highgate Wood and then we can walk to town.
I like the views from the top. Got a variety of people moving through the space as well.
And I can't go up to Muswell Hill Walkway without meeting at least 2 people in it.